Buongiorno, buon pomeriggio, and buonasera, laziali around the world. It is, again, Sean McIntosh, myself, joined by the infamous Stephen K. Moore from the Laziali to chat ahead of tomorrow's big Champions League fixture. First one in 13 years for us, so we are very excited. A little nervous, but very excited to chat today. And we are joined by a very special guest to give us the inside scoop on all things Borussia Dortmund. So we are welcomed by Tushar with BVB Buzz to chat a little bit about Dortmund and Lazio. Tushar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. Looking forward to the game tomorrow. It should be a cracker.
Yeah, well, we're hoping it is just that. I know Steven and I, coming off of a very disappointing weekend on the Lazio side in our Serie A fixture. We're a little nervous heading into this one, so kind of giving us the inside scoop because, Steven and I aren't necessarily tuned into the Bundesliga, but, give us a little bit of an insight heading into this match. What's Borussia Dortmund been up to and how are they playing so far this season?
I would say it's been kind of a mixed start for Borussia Dortmund. They've won 4 and lost 2 of their games so far, including one to Bayern Munich in the DFB Super Cup. But they won their last 2 games. The last one against Hoffenheim, a game which they hadn't won in 7 years. So that's quite a big boost for them. And I would say going into this game, the strikers are in great form. Erling Haaland has been scoring goals for fun. Jadon Sancho, his form's been a bit up and down probably because of the transfer speculation. But Gio Reyna, his stock has been skyrocketing. He's been in excellent form. But yeah, overall it's been a bit up and down. But right now they're getting some great momentum going into this game.
Very interesting. And so overall, obviously last year kind of ended prematurely, or not prematurely, but kind of in a hectic time just due to COVID. Looking into this new season, it was a short little break than usual compared to most seasons. The transfer market was a little hectic, especially with that Sancho news kind of back and forth. He's staying, he's leaving, he's staying. I know you guys are most convinced that he was going to be staying. But obviously Manchester United fans, most Premier League fans wanted him to make that switch back to England. But what are your expectations just for Borussia Dortmund, obviously in the league, but also in the Champions League?
Officially, the club haven't given any expectations of what they think a good season would look like, but fans want a trophy, and everyone is hopeful that Borussia Dortmund will finally win a trophy this season. They're not sure if it'll be the DFB Pokal or the Bundesliga, but obviously it'll be very difficult to challenge Bayern Munich for the Bundesliga. But the fans want a trophy, and they are hopeful that this will be the season that we finally end that drought.
For sure. And do you see that happening? And if so, what competition on your level do you see it happening in? Will it be league play or will it be the Champions League?
Champions League looks like a step too far right now for this young Borussia Dortmund team. But obviously the league has to be one of the priorities. And yeah, Bayern look to be unbeatable at the moment, but if anyone can beat them, it's Borussia Dortmund. That being said, the more realistic trophy goal would be the DFB Pokal, which is the German Cup, and that would be the realistic option for Borussia Dortmund.
So I imagine, and I'm not going to speak for you, Tushar, but as a Lazio fan, we were highly anticipating this Champions League draw. We felt pretty good, with how things ended up playing out. And on our side, we see ourselves as a club that should come out of this group. What are your predictions, and who do you think are the two clubs to see themselves out of this Champions League group?
I think it should be Borussia Dortmund will feel confident going into this group that they'll be able to win it. Last 3 seasons, actually, we've had some really tough groups. Last year we had Inter Milan and Barcelona, but we got out of the group last year as well. So I think Borussia Dortmund will be confident of getting that top spot. And I think second spot, I think Lazio are the favorites. But Zenit St. Petersburg, I haven't seen them play that much, but I know they have some really good strikers, and they have Malcolm, who was once at Barcelona as well. So it will be interesting to see who comes out on top between Lazio and Zenit St. Petersburg.
Yeah, I think a lot's going to obviously, going to be sorted out. I think it's absolutely critical to start quickly, and with the two top clubs, at least, from our prediction standpoint, going up against each other to kick things off tomorrow. I think it's going to tell a story of both clubs, particularly Lazio, because as I mentioned, we come into this match on a low point, having lost 3-0 against a Sampdoria team that we should absolutely beat. And so I think we're a little bit nervous. Certainly some areas where Lazio, will be making changes in terms of lineups from where we were this weekend. Where do you see your starting 11 coming into tomorrow's match looking like?
I don't see there being too many changes. Obviously, we have a few injuries and suspensions. We only have one fit central defender available in Mats Hummels, and it'll be a makeshift back three with Manuel Akanji has COVID-19, so he's out. Dan Axel Zagadou is out with a knee injury. Emre Can has been playing at centre back. He's out. He's suspended. So, and Lucas Piszczek, who has been playing at centre back as well, he's got an eye injury, so he's a doubt coming into this game, but he has travelled. So it'll likely be Burki in goal or Marvin Hitz in goal, who has played the last two games. And then we'll see Mats Hummels, Lucas Piszczek, and Thomas Delaney, who's a midfielder, playing in the back three. Then we'll have Thomas Munier and Rafael Guerrero as the two wing backs. And then I see Jude Bellingham, the new summer signing. He's going to be in midfield along with Axel Witsel. And up front, I see it being Jadon Sancho, Marco Reus, and Erling Haaland. With Gio Reyna could come into the lineup. He's someone that our coach really likes, but he's played a lot over the last few weeks, so I think he deserves a little breather.
Interesting. It's a very similar situation that we have with Lazio, as you just said, we're having to play a midfielder on central as a center back, as a left center back, obviously, and Marco Parolo. So kind of an interesting situation coming into this game, because looking at it right now after the disaster of a performance against Sampdoria recently, where we lost 3-0, many people thought Parolo was going to start again on center back, just due to the amount of injuries that were pounding up on our back line. And then we signed Wesley Holt over the summer on the last minute on transfer market deadline day. And he came in and only lasted one half before having to be subbed off. So I'm quite concerned at how we're kind of lining up into this one. I personally don't know who's going to start on left center back, whether it be Parolo, whether it be Ahoed. Just due to the injuries, it's going to be quite interesting to see how we line up. So looking at your team and the amount of players that you've mentioned, I know we've talked about kind of the new summer signings and Jude Bellingham. There's Gio Reyna as well. But we kind of know the top big gun players, Erling Haaland, Jadon Sancho. What players do you think that Lazio will have to watch out for the most, especially with regards to our lacking of a back line, but also with yours too?
Yeah, I think Mats Hummels will be really key tomorrow, because Lazio, their defense might be struggling, but they have Ciro Immobile, who is one of Europe's most lethal strikers. So him being the only fit centre back for us, he will have to be at his very best. And I think his performance will be key for Borussia Dortmund tomorrow. Going forward, I think it'll be Marco Reus, who scored the winner last at the weekend. So he will be aiming to continue that form and keep it going. But Erling Haaland, he is the deadliest player that we have, and he's not only scoring goals, but this season he's also getting assists and helping out his teammates. So he's turning into a real team player, and his determination is just something else. So these two will be the ones to watch for me.
Yeah, I'm glad, we talked a little about Gio Reyna. Somebody like myself who resides in the United States, I've had my finger on the Reyna pulse for a couple seasons, and obviously, we've seen his trajectory skyrocket, this season, which has been really cool to see. It seems to be that Borussia Dortmund is at least where young Americans should be going, because we saw what they were able to do with the likes of Pulisic. So personally, I'm keeping my eyes on Reyna. I'm hoping maybe he doesn't have quite the success he seems to be having tomorrow, but that's the guy that I'm interested to see play. Any players that scare you or that you are keeping an eye on or you are most worried about on the Lazio side of things?
Yeah, I think the focus has been mostly on Ciro Immobile because he's obviously a former Borussia Dortmund player, and that history has been talked up in the German press. It was talked up by Max Hummels during the press conference. Someone that I think Dortmund will have to keep an eye on, obviously. And Sergei Milinkovic-Savic is another player that I think could cause Dortmund quite a few problems. He scored a brace against Erling Haaland a couple of weeks ago for Serbia as well. So I think that could be something that could be a storyline. And I think those two players are ones that Dortmund will have to keep an eye on.
Sure. Off to Borussia Dortmund again with regards to their style of play. We obviously know that they have a lethal attack, kind of similar to Lazio on the counter. More so last season than this season as it stands so far. Hopefully that turns up against the Borussia Dortmund tomorrow. But what is Borussia Dortmund's style of play? How do you see them coming into this match, and will they change anything against Lazio?
I think Borussia Dortmund plays a patient style of football, especially in the first halves of games. They tend to be a bit reactive in the first half, and Lucien Favre is like a defensive-minded coach who likes to play sideways passing, and he likes to play with. I mean, he's not a big fan of the back three, but that's a formation that he has adopted now. But he's usually a very, very Mourinho-esque coach, especially in the first half. He likes to get the opposition on the ball and hurt them on the counter attack, especially when there are tired legs. And we have scored a lot of our goals in the second half, especially on the counter attacks with our pace that we have with Sancho and Haaland and Marco Reus. And so I think the style of play is a bit less attack minded than people think, and less attack minded than most Dortmund fans want. But it's getting the job done. I think 2020 has been Borussia Dortmund's most consistent year since Favre took over, and this back three formation has a lot to do with it because it suits the Dortmund players, it suits everyone except maybe Favre. But yeah, I think it's working very well, and hopefully it'll work well on tomorrow as well.
Is there a particular lineup or tactic formation that Dortmund struggles the most with? So, you know, if you were coaching against Dortmund, you know, what would you do to beat them?
I would say Dortmund sometimes struggle against a high press and a low block as well. Sometimes Dortmund struggle to beat opponents when they defend deep and they just can't seem to, and they just back the midfield and they press high up the pitch. So Dortmund really struggled to defeat opponents that way. And we saw that a few weeks ago against Augsburg when Dortmund lost 2-0. Augsburg defended deep, they pressed high, they backed the midfield. Dortmund couldn't break them down, and Augsburg hurt Dortmund on the counter-attack.
So, you know, obviously there's a ton of players on both sides. You mentioned some of them from Lazio. Just your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions going into tomorrow's match. You know, are you confident, paired up against Lazio? Like, how do you feel? And then what do you think of Lazio when you're thinking of us as that opponent? You know, what is it that you think about? You know, because again, just for example, when I'm thinking Dortmund, to be honest, I'm scared because I know, you know, you mentioned that you guys aren't necessarily tactically built to be this well-oiled attack, but you mentioned the players, and you guys have guys that can light it up. We mentioned our problems at center back position, and I go into this match a little bit nervous. So for me, I'm scared when I think about this matchup against Dortmund. You know, when you think about Lazio, what are your thoughts?
I think Lazio is Dortmund's toughest away game in this group. Obviously, we face a trip to Russia in December, so that won't be easy at all. But overall, in terms of opposition quality, Lazio is the toughest of the lot. And I think Dortmund will, considering the defensive woes that we have right now, I think a draw would be a good result for us going in an away game, in a Champions League game. I think if we can get a draw, or if we can, I mean, obviously we'll try to win and we'll want to win, but I think a draw would be a very good result for Dortmund.
For sure. And just ending on that note, a prediction overall for this game. So we're obviously going to be playing in Rome. Lazio is going to be at home. Borussia Dortmund is going to be away. You just mentioned that a draw would be something that you guys would be fond of. But in your own eyes, what do you see the result of this game being?
Oh, I can see both sides scoring because Dortmund, both, as you mentioned, both teams, Lazio also have a bad defense right now, and so do Dortmund. So I can see both teams scoring and Dortmund just edging it 2-1.
What about you, Steven? What do you got? What are you going on record with?
This is a tough one. As I was talking to Shawn just before we came on this call, after the Sampdoria game, I looked at my grandpa, and I said, I would be happy if we don't concede more than 3 goals against a Borussia Dortmund. So although I'd like to say I want Lazio to win, I'd like to see them win, I don't think we're prepared going into this match. I'd like to be hopeful. It's a 13-year return. All of our strength and all of our ambitions to be put towards this, but I don't know the ultimate scoreline for this one. It's very tough. Like I'd like to say a 3-2 victory for Lazio, but I'm not too sure if we'll find that connection. You're going to see Immobile coming in with either a Correa, who he's used to seeing, or a Murici, he's not too used to seeing, obviously, right now. Our midfield did not look like a midfield at all against Sampdoria, and our defensive line is kind of under attack right now just due to the amount of injuries. So we only really have an Acerbi and maybe a Patrick on the right who are secure locks. And then you look at our back line, our goaltenders. You have Pepe Reina or Strakosha. Do you go with experience, or do you go with the goalie who's been running through every single game the past 2-3 years? So I'd like to say a 3-2 victory for Lazio, but ultimately I think it'll be a 3-1 victory for Dortmund.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we kind of talked about. I hope that Lazio had an eye towards Champions League and allowed themselves to slip up against Sampdoria. But, we know there are some looming issues with the squad and how we're kind of constructed and our lack of quality depth and injuries right now. So, unfortunately, if I'm making my prediction, I'm going 3-1 Borussia Dortmund. I hope to be dead wrong where, I hope Laziali are coming after me because, I was so wrong. But, I would go 3-1 Borussia Dortmund with the issues, especially in our back line and knowing that you're likely going to see a Wesley Hood. And if it's not Wesley Hood starting, it's going to be Parola. Either way, I'm nervous about that. But, we'll see. It all ultimately comes down to Luis Alberto and Milinkovic-Savic because we know what Ciro Immobile is going to give us. We know he's going to fight hard. We know he needs that service from the likes of Luis Alberto. So I thought he was walking around a little bit like a zombie and certainly wasn't himself this weekend. So we need the best out of him to keep up with the likes of Dortmund. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one. So I would be very ecstatic. I think you're being kind when you say a 1-1 or a draw, 1 point each is going to be a fair result for you guys, or you'd be happy with that. I certainly would be very happy with that. So
absolutely
awesome. Well, again, we appreciate it. Big matchup tomorrow. We know this was short notice, but why don't you tell the people a little bit about where they can find you, follow you, and see your work.
Yeah, you can find us on bvbbuzz.com, or you can find us on Twitter at BVB Buzz, or as well as on Instagram. Thank you again for having me, guys. It's a real pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. And again, as usual, Laziali, Forza Lazio, and fingers crossed for tomorrow.